Never thought I'd be doing a video like this. It's not one that I really want to make, but it's what I do. I make videos, and this is my best way I know how to say goodbye. So, let's ride.
Greg and I'm riding with Demic.
So what's up? It's your friendly homie on 2. In learning how to ride a motorcycle, I did so much research. I researched everything. I researched the gear. I researched, what type of bike I wanted. I researched it all. But there was nothing that could have prepared me for this. Nothing. And what I mean is losing a rider that you roll with. You hear about all of the stories, but it was always somebody that I didn't know, and it's always devastating. No, don't get me wrong. Every time I hear about a rider going down, I feel for them, and I feel for their families, and every rider, whether they admit it or not, sit down for a good 5 minutes and think about, the seriousness of what we do. But this one was different. This was not a name on a newspaper or name in an article, which I say every life is precious. But this was somebody that I had the opportunity to ride with, and there's nothing that can prepare you for that phone call. That's the reason why we're doing this video, because this is a part of bike life that we don't like to talk about. We hate to hear about it. But I also wanted to do this video because I wanted to honor the rider that has fallen. And his name was Greg McCann. And we called him CrazyAzzGreg. And yes, he was CrazyAzzGreg. But he was such a beaming light, man. I've never been around Greg and I didn't have a smile, or didn't leave his presence with a smile. He was that kind of guy.
I met Greg on May 15, 2017 through Moto Amino, and one night a few of us decided to go to the local Red Robin. Well, was Greg. He had squid written all over him, the GSX 1000, the cut-off sleeves showing his bare muscles. But he was just a passionate rider, new rider that was so excited about riding. But the magic of that night was that if anybody would have walked in to that restaurant, saw us carrying on and laughing, or if they would have saw us out there was clowning around in the parking lot with our motorcycles, they would have never guessed in a million years that we had just met that night. And I think that was the special magic that he had, that he didn't meet any strangers. Anybody who came around him and spent 5 minutes with him was immediately his friend. So he was a heck of a guy.
Through his passing, I've gained a lot. It made me assess a little bit more what kind of person I want to be, what kind of rider I want to be, what kind of impact I want to leave on this world. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to say, to have people say about you that, I've only known, insert your name here, for less than a year, but man, that person had such an impact on me, and I'll never forget them. Definitely he was a guy that I admired and I liked, but I think that after his passing, I liked him even more. I don't know if that sounds right saying it, but it's when you hear all of the stories of all of the people that he's impacted, and you get all of the other puzzle pieces. See, when you meet a person, you only get that little puzzle piece of that person that he is around you, or how that person impact you. There's so many other lives that people impact when they're not around you. And sadly, a lot of times it's after people pass that you hear all of these wonderful stories like, man, I didn't know he did that, or I didn't know that about this person. So, you know, with Greg, there was a lot of stories that I heard, or a lot of character commentary that really let me know that, man, I really wish I would have known him even more than I did. And so I'm going to regret not being even closer to Greg than I was. As I said, I know I'm not the only person who has felt the impact of his loss, and I'm not the only person who was, you know, who had great things to say about him. Matter of fact, listen to what some of his friends said.
Irish here. I just want to say that Greg was a great asset to Moto Amino. We needed him with us, and it was such a loss when we lost him, and it's kind of a hard video for me to do, but he will always be riding with me. I loved him, and like I said, he was family, and every day I ride, I think that I know he's riding with us because he come home safe, you know, and I appreciate it, Greg. I really do.
I knew Greg only for a couple times. Met him last year at the East Coast meetup in Charlotte. Great guy. Enjoyed riding with him. Wish I could have rode with him more than just the few times I did. His parents, you guys are awesome. Thanks for coming to this year's East Coast meetup. Thank you for your little token of gift you gave me. Just to let you guys know, I'll be riding with. He'll be with me. I'll be having that token with me when I ride, just so he's always on the ride with us. He's always going to be a member of our Dragon crew, and you know, we'll all see him again one day.
What happened that you got a ticket?
The tags was out on my car.
So
When he pulled me over,
Was that really it? Well, you hit me, that's what it says.
the tags was out on my car.
Uh-huh.
And he pulled me over. I mean, I've met Greg a couple times. I was staying in a motel room one time, and me and my fiance got into an argument, and they called the police. Who shows up?
Greg.
Greg. And, you know, so I had a couple, and so I didn't know his name at all, but he knew mine.
Oh, here.
And so when she told him that, me and her were talking, he was like, hold on, I know him. I think I wrote him a ticket.
I went back to records and we looked him up. And so I was like, come on. And he goes, oh, I remember him. And I was like, uh-huh.
That's
Yeah.
what we'll meet somebody.
And then ever since then, I mean, it was just been like you said, you could tell when you met him he was a good person. Even though he did give me a ticket, I mean, he was doing his job, so.
And when he came over and Greg was staying, he was like, yes, sir, yes, sir. And I was like, why are you saying sir to Greg? And I was like, stop. And he was like, you ain't got to call me sir. I was like, it's cool, man. I'm not a cop anymore.
Yeah, he did say that.
See, all beautiful words, man. These are all people who knew Greg in one capacity or another, and they were all impacted by his life. So one of the more beautiful things that have come out of this tragedy was me meeting his parents and his sister. They're some of the most genuinely warm and compassionate people I've met. Meeting Greg's parents was such a blessing, man. They actually came out to the Moto Amino East Coast meetup that we had in June, and that ride, that whole event was in honor of Greg. There I said a few words, some other riders said some few words, and so here's a clip of it.
While I'm standing here, is we wanted to honor one special rider in particular. Every life is precious, but this rider we want to highlight because he was Dragon Crew. He rode with us, and out of all of the riders that we ride with,
he was the first one we've lost. So it's a little different, and I wanted to honor him special. He was a heck of a rider, heck of a guy, good friend. I won't stand up here and say he was my best friend. I knew him less than a year, but it's like this. If you're in a dimly lit room, if somebody comes in with a lantern, you notice immediately the change in the room, and that's how he was. His name was Greg McCann, and we're gonna miss him. We're really, really gonna miss him. He was at the last East Coast meetup, and have some good memories with him. Wish we could have had some more, but we do all know the perils of what we do, but we also know the joys of it, and we want to celebrate that life as well. I have with him here today his parents. We're honored to have them come and join us today. And everybody who came here today, we had you guys sign this banner. If you guys haven't signed the banner, sign it. It's going to go with his parents. So we want you guys to have this banner on behalf of the Dragon Crew. It's the second annual Motomino East Coast Meet, and we've all signed it, and we encourage everybody who hasn't signed it to sign it. It's going with Greg's parents. Again, Reverend Don McCann.
Thank you very much. You're too kind. You're all too kind. All right. I just want to say that I don't know what to say. We knew how much Greg loved riding. He had only been doing it about a year before he lost his life. But since he died, since he passed, and we met many of you guys at the funeral, and ladies at the funeral, and talking to you on Facebook and email, you have been some of the warmest, kindest people that we have ever met and contacted with. And we know how much Greg loved riding. He beamed every time he'd get on that bike. And now we know why. Because he loved the sport of riding, but more importantly, he loved the people he rode with. So we thank you all so much for all your love, all the outreach, the support, the kindness that you have shown us at this very difficult time. And we do consider, maybe distant part of the family now, but we do consider ourselves part of the Motomino family, and we will stay in touch. Today doesn't end it. So thank you.
So on that ride, not only did we tribute the ride to it, Greg's memory, but his parents approached me with the honor of essentially giving Greg's his last ride. I carried Greg's ashes with me on the ride, and there we said our last goodbyes. He had his last ride. It was beautiful. It was emotional, but it was fitting for such a awesome young man. Those of us who know you, Greg, we will never forget you. To his family, we are here. We're always here. I'm only a phone call away. Anytime you want to talk, anytime you need me, anytime you just want to kick it and tell old stories, I am there. What I encourage a lot of the riders and a lot of the people that knew him in general, remember Greg and the type of guy he was. Let that perpetuate in your own life. He was one of those people that when you lose, you're saying, man, we need more people like that. Well, you can be those people. I'm going to be that kind of person. I'm going to be more like Greg was. I'm going to be more a light to other people. I mean, that's something that he's ignited in me. I hope he ignited that in you. And that's what this video was really about. It's not really about just his past and his death, but it was also about his life. I want people to realize that, there's some beautiful lives that we have lost, and we don't have to lose them. We can keep them with us right here, and we can perpetuate it and show the rest of the world that little bit of Greg that's inside of all of us. And for all of you riders out there, you know how we always end our ride. Say it with me. Until the next video, ride your ride. Peace.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began.